Testing. I don't think everyone is here yet. All right. Hope everyone can hear me clearly. Okay. So, welcome to Amplified. Today, I'm in charge. And we'll be treating design to costs, DTC. Okay. So I have this because when you give this kind of topic, when you give this kind of topic to deliberate on, the architects are always like, I'm sure the architects in their mind, the architects here now in their mind will be like cringing, like design to costs. We don't want to be like limited by cost. We want to be creative. We want to, impress. We want to put ourselves out there and not have to mind about, costs. But we live in the real world. We live in the market. We're in the construction market. And believe it or not, every client has a particular budget. Every client has just this little thing called budget. And yes, the building, the facility that we're trying to bring to life in our own way, the client obviously is willing to bring that facility to life, but within a budget. So I put something here, the architect's secret weapon for vision retention. The architect's secret weapon for vision retention. Now, based on what we will be discussing under this particular topic, we're discussing the philosophy, early stage costing model, defending the vision against value engineering, life cycle costing, and collaborative workflows. Okay, so DTC is a tool, a very valuable tool, where designs are being yes, you can say you are designing and you want to be creative about it, you want to implement whatever you want to implement, but we do this within a particular budget. Now, it's not about being restrained by the budget. The budget is not a rope to tie you. The budget is not a rope to tie your creativity. But the budget is to help you be smart about your creativity. How to effect it, how to effect that design in a way that, yes, this is it on paper, this is it on the 3D, this is it on the presentation. But however, can we actually implement this in real life. Okay, so the client gives you the job to profile the design, and yes, the design comes out. It's your work. You're proud of the work. It looks lovely. The client loves it. However, we go through all the processes of getting the construction drawings, the structural drawings, and all of that. And then it comes to the quantity surveyor's table. It comes to the quantity surveyor's table, and he does his work, and it's like, this will cost this particular amount. And then it gets to the client, and then the client is like, okay, this is quite much. This is quite much. So what do? We downsize. We try to, make sure that everything that we're trying to do is within this particular budget. And in most cases, the design suffers. In most cases, the design suffers. So how do we prevent this from happening? This is where DTC comes into mind, design to cost. So here I have building an architectural masterpiece is a feat of engineering, but maintaining that vision through to the construction phase is a feat of financial strategy. So you design quite all right, yes, it's lovely, but maintaining that design through to the final stage of construction is really a financial strategy. As a quantity surveyor, my goal for this session is to shift your perspective of the budget from a creative cage to a navigational tool, rather. Let's go into the philosophy. The philosophy of DTC. Here I have a flow chart. Traditionally, our workflow, as we like to do as architects, rather, we get the brief from the client. We prepare the design based on that brief, and then it comes to the quantity surveyor's table. The pricing of the design is done by the quantity surveyor. Two things now happen. Either one, if the design is affordable to the client, the design is what? Safe. We implement the design, it looks good, everyone is happy. However, if the price is too high for the client, value engineering comes in. We start looking for that type of material, we start looking for another type of color of paint, or type of quality of paint, quality of tiles, this, and all of this, it reduces the facade of what we're trying to achieve. So, however, DTC workflow not only gets the design brief, it also tries to understand the budget, the financing of the project. So we are not just trying to get the brief from the client, we're also trying to understand the financing of the project. And then from there, we go into preparation of the design. So while the preparation of design is going on, the pricing of design is going on as well. So it's a kind of circle. While you are being creative, we are having that pricing in mind, collaboration between the architect and the quantity surveyor to try and, bring out this lovely design that will fit into the cost. And then what do we have? Total implementation of design. Okay, so under this philosophy, we have the resource allocation, we need to understand that every project has a financial envelope. DTC is about deciding where to spend that design capital. In doing this, one of the ways to do this, we have the 80-20 rule. I don't know if we are familiar with the 80-20 rule, where you have a building, and everything that you have there, everything that you have put in place, all the designs, all the materials, all the, everything that you have put in place to make it look wonderful, to make it look beautiful, to bring out the experience that you want the client to feel when he uses that property, is just 20% of the entire 100% of everything that you put inside. So everything that you have put in everything, but however, what actually brings out that beauty, you are putting everything, all the design, all the facade and everything, what actually catches whoever looks at it is just 20% of the project. So why don't we focus on that 20% and then have some savings on that 80%. So we have that savings of the 80% to fund the 20%, and then we perfect that 20%. That is the 80-20 rule. Anchor strategy. We identify one sacred design element early enough in the design stage, so that the quantity surveyor, he does his costing around it. He's able to protect that particular design, that particular facade, that particular thing you are trying to communicate. He protects it, and then make sure that on site it is implemented just as you want it. Next, we are going to be talking about the early stage cost model. So in this particular point now, we'll be talking about not just waiting for the design to be completed 100% before cost comes in. Just as we spoke in this circle, in this collaborative circle, where we prepare the design and then we price the design at the same time. Having that circle before our final design comes out, so that we can achieve what we want to achieve. Now, under here, we'll be talking about parametric estimating, using cost per square meters. While you're designing, you have your cost per square meter in your mind. Okay, if I'm adding to the size of the building at this particular point in time, at this particular point of the design, what is the cost implication of that, and all of that. Next, we have the what if phase. What if? Here the architect asks, what if we cantilever this particular section? What if we use this material here? What if we use that material there? What if we create an arm, that will have a structural implication on the design? What is the answer? We don't just on this particular stage now, we don't just say no to it. We say, how much does it cost? So instead of saying no, we can't do this, we say, how much does it cost? Okay, this is what it costs. Where can we get that funds from within the budget to finance it? Visualizing the cost curve, we have to understand that from the early stage of designing, the cost is easily flexible at that point, while when we get to the end, it is less flexible. So here I have the ability to influence the cost is highest at the concept stage, and drops drastically once we hit the construction phase. Next, we have defending the vision against value engineering. Now, we all know about value engineering. We want to achieve this particular item of work. This is the material we need to complete this particular item of work. This is the process of construction that we need to achieve this particular work, but it's quite expensive. So what do? We look for another way to spend less. We look for another means of procedure in order to spend less, but still achieve what we want to achieve. Now, value engineering obviously is not bad, but however, usually what happens, usually value engineering happens in a panic stage, where okay, we want to achieve this, but wow, it's going to cost this amount. So what do? We try to make sure that we get a lower percentage of that, of achieving that particular work. But DTC now is a proactive value engineering phase. So instead of value engineering later on in the work, we are value engineering at the conception stage. So before the design comes out. Material intelligence, identifying look-alike materials that offer the same aesthetics at 60% of the cost, e.g. high quality porcelain tiles versus rare marbles. So instead of using so particular materials, we're using this other type of materials. Now, if we think about this at the conception stage, at the design stage, we won't have to have that problem later on in the project, which will save us a lot of costs and also help us prevent changes in our design. Structural efficiency, collaborating with engineers early to ensure look doesn't require an unnecessarily expensive structural solution. So we also have not just the quantity surveyor now, we also have to collaborate with the engineers to find out, okay, if we are preferring this particular design, this particular facade, what effect will it have on the structure? What amount of reinforcements will be needed? Will it increase the amount of reinforcements we need to achieve that particular building? Will it increase the concrete work? Will it have to deal with a lot of ground earthwork for it to achieve that? All of that is also taken care of in DTC. Client confidence. When you present a design with a verified budget, the clients trust you more. It prevents the heartbreak conversation where you have to, explain in the sense that the client is has fallen in love with this particular design, but we can't really achieve that design as at that time because of the budget. Next, we need to understand life cycle costing. Life cycle costing. I have a pen. This pen costs about 1,000 naira. I have another pen. This pen costs about 100 naira. However, this pen is going to last me about a year, while this pen is going to last me about 2 months. We have to take, so in DTC now, we have to take into account all of this, that we are not just having our initial costs, we are also having our running costs. How much will it take to maintain this pen against how much it will take to maintain this cheaper pen? All of that needs to be put into consideration during the design stage. So we have capital expenditure versus operational expenditure. Explains that while A high performance facade is a high capital expenditure, that's initial cost. The operating expenditure, that's utility bills, will plummet. Durability. As a saving, durability, using high-end durable finishes in high traffic areas reduces maintenance costs. So we're looking at what? Longevity of life and maintenance costs during the time of the building. Next, we have collaborative workflow between the QS and the architect. Obviously, in order to achieve DTC, there has to be collaboration between these two parties. There has to be real-time feedback. So instead of monthly meetings, we have to meet regularly to talk about the design. Okay, we are going to add this, what will it cost, and all of that. And you will notice that over time, when you collaborate over time, the architect will even have it at the back of his mind while he's designing that. Okay, so I'm sure this from that collaboration on his own, the architect will be able to I'm sure this, if I do this, okay, this will be the most likely the cost implication of this. Okay, so I'm going to do it this way. This is okay. This is not okay. Like that, and the design comes out perfectly. Sharing data environment using BIM. I don't know if we're conversant with BIM, where these are platforms that help in syncing the workflow between the engineers, the architects, and the quantity surveyors, where as design is being done, cost is being applied to that, as well as the design for the structures are being done. The MEPs are also being done at the same time. This synchronizes all our workflow, and it helps us. This particular synchronization of the workflow helps us achieve DTC. The unified fronts. When we sit in front of the client, the architect and QS should be in total agreement. No surprises, no contradictions. In conclusion, I would say I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that DTC is not bondage to creativity. It's not debt to creativity, but it is direction. It's direction to what to achieve, how to achieve it, and the best way to achieve it. Here I have, it is vital to remember that design to cost is not about spending less. It is about spending smart. As a quantity surveyor and as architects and quantity surveyors, our greatest friction often arises when we want to implement this design, but we don't have the funds to. So in order to prevent that, DTC is the best method. When we integrate cost intelligence at the earlier stage of sketch, we aren't just counting the costs, we are ensuring the design. You know, when you insure something, when you insure a particular building, whatever happens is being covered by the insurance company. So this is like an insurance to the design to make sure that whatever happens, your design stands. We move from reactive culture of cutting to a proactive culture of creating with certainty. Thank you. So I'll be taking questions, contributions, at this time. Any questions, any contributions?
I have a question about the intro. The title of the topic was what again? Sorry.
Design to cost.
Design to cost.
Yes.
The architect's secret on vision retention.
Yeah.
I actually had a question about that last part. What do you mean by vision retention?
Okay, so you have a particular vision for this particular project, and so as not to deviate from that vision, we apply that vision to the costs, so that whatever is being changed, whatever is being modified, is modified at the design stage, ensuring the design so that when we go to site, when we construct, at the end point, your vision is standing. So that's vision retention.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
How do you apply BTC to inflation? In terms of, we've done the facade, we tried our best for the BTC, and then months after, maybe the project takes like 2 years, then 6 months after, inflation comes up.
Okay, so inflation, there are different ways of treating inflation. You can go to the client and be like, okay, so this is not for the economy is this way, and then it does not change the client's budget. However, we really need an additional fund to achieve this. That is one way. Another way is whenever funds are being budgeted for a particular project, there are always contingency funds that are attached to that budget. So we're not just budgeting for that particular, we're budgeting for eventualities as well in the case of inflation, for example. So those are ways that we can use DTC at the point of inflation. You know? All right. Thank you very much. It was really nice speaking on this particular topic. I hope we had fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.